Hello. Is this working? Now, I know what you're thinking. A 2023 makeup tutorial on YouTube? Who does she think she is? A 2020, 20 beauty influencer? No, but I do know this. I've spent a lot of money on makeup and I love doing it. And I've always wanted to do a little funky tutorial. So if you want to know how to do a halo pink eye, saying pink eye in reference to makeup does not sound good. Pink eyeshadow look, just keep watching. It's gonna be a little hectic, it's gonna be a little chaotic, but it's gonna be fun. Let's go. In my time of living in a southern town, I have had a lot of women approach me and say they could never do colorful eyeshadow or they've struggled with it, and frankly, a lot of the times it's because you don't have the right tools. You gotta have the right setup in order to make your pigments pop. A little bit of alliteration. Love that for us. So the first thing, you gotta have primer. You have to prime your eyelid, no matter what you use. If it's a MAC paint pot, if it's, you know, like a very pigmented primer, if it's concealer, whatever works best for your eye, use it. I personally use the MAC Prep and Prime 24 Extend Eye Base. This bad boy is the only thing that works for me. I throw makeup from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and it like sometimes longer. So I need my eyeshadow to stay and I have oily lids. Highly recommend this one for me, but as long as you have some sort of base, it's helpful. Now, this one is clear. If you have one with more of a like white pigment to it, it's gonna make that pigment pop because it's got a white base. Those are things that you can fiddle with and figure out as long as you're doing them. The next thing is that you have to have different brushes to do different things. I just grabbed a few of the different ones I use in pretty much every eyeshadow look. Oh, there's like a hair on my nose. So you gotta have some sort of fluffy blender, but this is not gonna do detail work. This is going to buff color out. I have tons of these, I love using these, and I love taking just like a clear setting powder at the end and buffing out the edges to make it even smoother. And as you get more detailed with your work, you have to have smaller brushes. So as you can see, comparing like these blenders, you can see like one is significantly smaller than that first one. Here, let me do it like this. And then one is in the middle, and that's gonna help you define where that eyeshadow is going. If you use a fluffy blender to blend out all your colors, they're going to all blend out the same way. Another thing is like a packing brush. You can use this, like let's say you're doing like a smoky eye and you wanna pack a pigment on. This is good for that, and then using this edge right here to sort of buff out where you packed it. Great tool. And then these are a little more, they're more for like packing pigment in certain areas than blending it out, but you can use these for those reasons. And then last but not least, this is an area where it's my personal favorite item to buy in a makeup world is eyeshadow. Today I'm using the Strawberry Shortcake Berrylicious palette. This is from Glamlight. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on an eyeshadow palette to find one with pigment that's good. There are tons of options, and if you're interested and you don't know, like, please let me know. I will give you a few options. Like, I will tell you, these are brands, these are the ones that I use, but there are tons of options for eyeshadow. I think the most important thing is start with looks you're gonna use often. If a color story is appealing because you like one color in it, but you don't know what to do with the rest of it, maybe hold off on that palette until you find a color story that speaks to your soul. So, with that, let's jump right in. I did add a little bit of a base with pigment. I think it was the something fell. Who knows? I'll find out later. Or will I? It was like the Juvia's Place one, just because this is colorful eyeshadow and I really want it to pop. So like, if you think about it, when you're drawing on a piece of paper, if it's just like your basic printer white paper and you draw a line on it with like a red marker, the red shows up. But if you take like a piece of construction paper and that paper is tan, the red shows up differently. It's the same for colorful eyeshadow. What I think has really helped me, I digress, is just learning color theory. As I've gotten better at eyeshadow, I've gotten better at painting and vice versa. So, you know, there's that. Don't mind how wild I am. That's just me unhinged. And that is me. Got some things to think about. Now that the eyes are prepped and primed, I'm gonna go in with my first shade. I don't really know what I'm doing. I probably should have planned this out ahead of time. I know I'm doing a halo eye, but I don't know what. It's fine. I'm gonna start, like I said, I'm using this Glamlight Very Cute palette, and I'm using this pink shade right here. This is gonna function as my transition shade between that and the darker ones. I feel like this would be an appropriate time to say I love bold eyeshadow. I love being colorful. I'm not afraid of that, so do with this what you will, but anybody can do this. It just takes practice. A tip I saw from somebody on TikTok, I cannot remember who, is instead of tapping off the excess powder on your mirror or your palette, is just take a paper towel and tap the excess powder into that paper towel, because it's gonna help remove all the fluff that you would get from it like blowing everywhere, but also you can go back in and you can tap it and blend it out. So yeah, let's go. Like I said earlier, when my eyes are natural, like when they're naturally, my eyes are natural, when they're closed, you can see looking straight ahead, they are kind of hooded. So I'm going to take the crease above where my natural crease is, otherwise you would not see any of the work I'm doing. I used to do this, I used to close my eye, and like sometimes I'll do that to finesse stuff. But the most important thing when doing eyeshadow is try to look straight on so you can see naturally, I'm still doing it, but so you can see where that shadow is actually gonna go when people are looking at your eye. And I'm taking a very light hand. Pressure does not equal better blending. I just tapped it off after I said I didn't do that. Don't mind me, I'm a sea of contradictions. But I'm taking it where that crease is gonna go. I gotta hold this closer, I'm too blind for this. I don't have my contacts in. As you can see, I'm just layering it. And because it's a light shade, I don't mind that it's kind of getting everywhere, because that's the whole point, is I want it to transition between this and the darker shades. We're just gonna blend until we feel happy with that blend. So as you can see, I have blended, so when my eye is open and like looking straight ahead, there's still pink. I'm like doing the Kubrick stare. You can still see the pink in the crease area. So now I'm gonna go in with my middle shade. It's not my deepest shade, and as we know, a halo eye is gonna have the shimmer sort of in the center, like line it up with your pupil, and then it's gonna be darker on the sides to center like a halo. So in this palette, I'm gonna go in, it's calling to me, I gotta use it, with this shade right here. It's just such a pretty pink. I'm in my pink era right now, which is very convenient considering the Barbie movie came out, but it's also kind of annoying because everybody's like, did you dye your hair pink for Barbie? And it's like, I dyed my hair pink because I'm healing my inner child. Let that be known. I have applied the color, I've tapped it off, so now we're gonna be a little more careful with the placement. I really wanna focus it on the inner and outer portions. You can see right here. And I am gonna bring it all the way up into the crease, but we're bringing it up below of the previous shade. And the reason for that is because if I bring it up all the way where I put the previous shade, then there's not really gonna be that transition of color. I might buff out this color more and then buff out the other one, but you wanna start small and work up. And I keep saying that, but it's something that I really had to learn the hard way. Like sometimes I go back and look at pictures of my old makeup and I'm like, oh girl. And then I'm like, you know what? We love old Emily. We love because that Emily is what taught us how to do makeup now. I got very quiet, but this is a very serious endeavor. Looking straight on, I can still see all the shade. And the thing is, I'm gonna bring the shimmer up, so I'm probably gonna have to bring this shade up a little bit. But this is where you apply that shadow. And then I love to go back in. I have not applied any more pink and go over the top with the previous color and just keep working on that transition. I do think you can blend too much, and there is a time when you've blended just enough, but what that means for you can be different from everybody else. It's what makes you feel beautiful at the end of the day. I'll be back after I do my other eye. After going back and forth with those two brushes and the colors until I get a blend that I'm happy with, now I'm gonna go in with the big bad deep color. I obviously want it to be a deep pink so you can see the gradient. So I'm going with this shade right over here. This one. There we go. Doing the same thing, tapping off my brush. While I sort of get the amount I want, I do think it's important to note, because I've seen a lot of discourse about this, that a lot of glam light shadows are considered pigments in the United States, which means that they are not safe for the eye area as classified by the FDA, I believe is the correct phrasing of this. However, they are safe in other countries because I believe it's the FDA considers a pigment unsafe if there is staining. Pink and red will stain. I don't really have that much trouble with it. I think it's because I prime and I double cleanse, I use an oil cleanser and then my cellar water and then I wash my whole face. That being said, I do think it's important, since I'm using this palette, to note that I believe a lot of these shadows are pigments. I know like a lot of their like Scooby-Doo Volume 2 palette is pigments, for example, so I've digressed. Let's do shadow. This one is gonna be even more focused than the previous one. I'm gonna put it in, you know, the classic outer V that you used to see on those Pinterest tutorials. Shout out to you Pinterest girlies in 2013 who made those. Thanks for guiding my makeup life. And I'm gonna do the inner V, I guess, because it's gonna be all the way up in that inner corner. And this one I do apply a lot of pigment because I'm gonna buff it out a lot and I really want it to show. All right, I'm gonna look straight on now. Oh my gosh, the silence. I'm sorry, folks. This is an intense procedure. It's a beautiful day to save lives. Little Grey's Anatomy reference for you. Side note, I can't watch Grey's Anatomy. Every time I watch it, a member of my family ends up in the hospital. It has happened 3 times now, and that is insane. I watch it to season 10 or something. Mom in the hospital. Season 2, mom in the hospital again. And then I tried again, and somebody else was in the hospital. Just too much. Too much. As you can see, I've applied it in those outer areas, and I'm gonna go back in with that middle color and start buffing over it. So let's take the brush, and I'm gonna go back in that paper towel where I initially tapped pigment rather than right back in the pan, and I'm gonna go over the top to help buff it out. That was my Xbox turning off because I was watching YouTube earlier. I really don't want there to be any harsh lines, but I still want the colors to be distinct, and that's why you can blend too much if you blend all your colors together. And you can see the difference between this eye and this eye with the deep shades, and this one only has the middle shade, how there's those shadows on the outside. That's what you're looking for. So I'm gonna continue to blend, and I'll meet you back once I finish that because we're gonna add the shimmer. Now that I've reached a point that I'm happy with, this is something that I really like to do. I have an old palette that I use for different primers and foundations. That's kind of gross, but I actually have some loose powder on there. I like to take a clean, fluffy blending brush. This is an old one from Morphe, and just tap it in the loose powder. It's just clear, translucent powder. I think it's RMCA. And I'm gonna go around the edges to just blend it all together. Make it kiss, marry the makeup, marry the night, as Mrs. Gaga would say, as Our Lady. Lord and Savior Gaga. I don't know if it really does a whole bunch, but gosh, I love doing it. I just feel like it makes everything so much more seamless. The transition between the shadow and the skin, chef's kiss. Now for the shimmer. Before I apply it, I want to shout out this palette. I think it's Gourmand Girls. I ordered it. It came quickly. It's an indie makeup brand, and I just had a bad experience with an indie makeup brand. So ordering from them was awesome. These are some of the best duochromes I've ever seen. I can't explain how obsessed I am with them. This light doesn't do them justice, but I'm gonna go in, oh, can I point to it? I'm gonna go in with this one right here, and I'm gonna put that in the center of my eye. I find usually it's best just to use my finger, and I always use my ring finger. I put these falsies on yesterday because I was in the why not, I was in the find out attitude, and now I am trying to function with them. Oh, y'all. It's okay to be a little messy with this application. I'm gonna kind of put it everywhere because I'm gonna put shadow on top of it. I'm gonna take a small packing brush, this one's from Real Techniques, to go in with that shadow and try to make sure I'm getting it in the areas I really want it. Y'all, tell me why I have toxic gossip trains stuck in my head. I was watching a video about somebody breaking down all the legal defenses that are wrong with it, and now it is just in my head, and gosh darn it, I just want my edges to be even. Doesn't mind if it's a little messy. Okay, we've applied the shimmer. Next step. To blend the shimmer together, I'm gonna take the little brush that had the dark shadow on it. I'm gonna tap it back in, and right on the edges of where I applied it, I'm gonna blend those. Put it put her there, pal. Can't help it sometimes. And I'm gonna do this with all that. Here's the medium shade, going back in with that, tapping it off, and I'm not gonna go over the shimmer on the top with this shade, but I am gonna go around it on the sides. Then I'm gonna go in, boop, with the lightest pink shade. Now I'm going over the top. And I do bring the shimmer all the way up because if I don't, then it would be hidden. Now you can still see it. That's the magic. But I do feel like this one's being a little hidden. Give me a minute. Once you've applied the beaten potatoes of your eyeshadow, that's where you can sort of look at it straight on and see, okay, do I see what I want to see with my eyes open as they're going to sit naturally, and go in and blend accordingly. And once again, it's about you doing what you need to make you feel pretty. This is also where I love to go back in with that fluffy brush with just some translucent powder and go around the edges. And with this, I'm going to call it good enough up here. I'm going to do the rest of my makeup, and I'll come back to show you how I would do the under eye, because I do think when you do bold shadow, you got to do the under eye. It just, even if it's just you taking a little liner brush and just doing a little bit of your darkest color, whatever it's gotta be, it just ties it all together. So, BRB, I have returned. As you can see, I did more of my makeup, but I just wanted to show you how I'm gonna do my under eye. So for starters, I'm gonna go in with a liner, oh, don't show my face, with a liner brush, and I'm gonna go in, man, the deepest shade. I'm gonna go in, and I'm gonna put it along the lower lash line. And I have not done the mascara on my lower lash line. I like to do it after I do the shadow. but I'm gonna extend it just a little bit beyond, sort of follow the shape of the lash line. And then because I did a halo eye, I'm gonna match what I did up top. I took a little bit, just a teeny bit on this inner part. Sometimes I go all the way out and use 3 shades. I'm lazy today. I'm just using the lightest pink color and putting it on that same brush. Go right over the top of where I put the dark color. And I'm gonna take a little brush, this little boy right here, and very lightly, using the lightest color, bring it all the way around. Bring it around town. Last but not least, like I said, we're gonna mirror the part up top, so I'm gonna put the shimmer shade in my, not my waterline. Hot take, I don't put things in my waterline because I have to go to an eye doctor often. Those glasses I was wearing were not just for show. I am blind as a bat, and she told me and showed me horrific pictures of what happens if you don't get it out of your waterline and how you can get like filled pores there and all sorts of stuff. So no, I can't. I used to do it all the time. I can't put stuff in my waterline anymore. Power to you if you can. All right, I took that same brush, went in with the shimmer shade, I cleaned off the excess, and right in the middle, I'm just gonna match what we got going on up top. Oh dear. Don't mind me, you just got a phone call. This is how I would finish that eyeshadow. I'm gonna come back on once I finish my whole makeup look, and I'll say thank you. But thank you now also for watching this far. That is everything. That is how I do a pink halo eye look. And the cool thing about this is that this is a template that you can use for any eyeshadow color. So if you want to do a green one, if you want to do a yellow one, you can use color theory to blend some shades together. If you want like a yellow, orange, purple, with purple being your deep shade. This was something I've always wanted to do. I always wanted to do a makeup YouTube video, and so I'm finally crossing it off the bucket list. If you watch this, then thank you so much. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, and I hope you have a great day. With peace and love, Emily out.